Imagine standing at the crossroads of your destiny with one road paved in gold yet demanding sacrifice, and the other decorated with ease but leading to emptiness. In that moment, a voice rises within you, whispering, "Choose comfort," but another voice, a deeper one, cries out, "Choose destiny." That second voice is the call of discipline, the unseen force that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary, the temporary from the eternal, the wanderer from the purposeful. Self-discipline is not about denying yourself life's pleasures. It is about aligning yourself with a higher order, a sacred rhythm that knows the difference between fleeting satisfaction and lasting fulfillment. Too many of us live as slaves to our impulses, yet wonder why we cannot taste the sweetness of consistent success. But hear me, your impulses are not your destiny. Your feelings are not your master. Your emotions are not the throne upon which your life should sit. Discipline is the true king. It rules with clarity, vision, and unwavering strength. You see, discipline thrives where vision lives. If your vision is blurred, your discipline will falter. But when you see clearly the life you are called to build, when you perceive the vastness of your destiny, discipline ceases to be a burden. It becomes an act of worship, an offering, a sacred yes to your higher self. But this discipline requires detachment. You must detach from the shallow applause of now to embrace the silent rewards of later. You must detach from the fleeting satisfaction of indulgence to embrace the deep fulfillment of consistency. Detachment is not weakness, it is strength. It is the mark of a soul that knows its worth, a spirit that refuses to bow to passing emotions, a heart that chooses purpose over pleasure. And let me tell you this, the one who cannot master himself cannot master anything in this world. Authority begins in the secret place where you say no to yourself so that you may say yes to greatness. The world does not bend to the undisciplined, it resists them, but it bows to the one who has conquered himself. Discipline is sacrifice, yes, but sacrifice is not loss. Every disciplined choice today plants the seeds of tomorrow's abundance. What you deny yourself in a moment of temptation is returned to you multiplied in the form of freedom, stability, and success. The true freedom is not found in doing whatever you feel like. It is found in the power to choose what aligns with your destiny. And so I ask you, will you allow your destiny to be diminished by the weakness of the moment, or will you rise above it, anchored in discipline, strengthened by vision, and detached from the illusions that seek to chain you? Discipline is often misunderstood because we have been conditioned to associate it with punishment, rigidity, or even suffering. But in truth, discipline is not punishment. It is alignment with your higher calling. It is the ordering of your life around what truly matters. Imagine the universe itself. The stars remain in their positions. The sun rises and sets at appointed times. The seasons change in perfect rhythm. Nothing in creation moves out of order, and that order sustains life. In the same way, discipline is the divine order that sustains your destiny. Without it, your vision collapses under the weight of scattered desires, endless distractions, and unchecked impulses. Every great destiny requires structure, and discipline is that structure. It is the bridge between where you are and where you are called to be. When you lack discipline, you may touch moments of greatness, but you will never dwell in them. You may taste success briefly, but you will not sustain it. It is not because you lack talent or intelligence, but because without alignment, the energy of your life leaks away into empty pursuits. Discipline gathers that energy, focuses it, and directs it toward what truly matters. It is not meant to deprive you. It is meant to refine you. Think of gold. In its raw form, gold is valuable, but it is only through fire and refinement that it reveals its brilliance. Discipline is that fire. It burns away distractions, excuses, and laziness until only clarity and strength remain. When you learn to align your habits, your time, and your emotions with your higher calling, you create space for greatness to unfold naturally. Many resist discipline because it feels restrictive. But what if restriction is actually protection? What if the boundaries you set for yourself are not walls to imprison you, but gates to guard your destiny? A farmer fences his field not to limit growth, but to protect the harvest from destruction. In the same way, discipline shields your purpose from being devoured by impulses, fears, and the opinions of others. Without it, you are vulnerable to everything that seeks to steal your focus and derail your journey. True discipline flows not from external rules, but from an internal revelation. It is the deep knowing that your life has meaning, that your time is sacred, and that your calling cannot be wasted on temporary indulgence. When you understand this, discipline becomes less of a struggle and more of an offering, a willing choice to align your actions with the greatness you are destined to embody. It ceases to feel like denial and begins to feel like devotion, devotion to the life you are meant to live. This is why discipline is not punishment. Punishment is given as consequence for wrong, but discipline is embraced as preparation for right. It is not about diminishing your freedom, but about unlocking it, because only the disciplined can truly be free. Consistency is never born from motivation alone, because motivation is fleeting. It rises like fire when emotions are high but fades when the heart grows weary or when circumstances shift. If your foundation is motivation, you will always find yourself starting and stopping, moving and stalling because you are tied to feelings that change with the winds of life. But when your foundation is vision, consistency becomes unshakable. Vision is the anchor that steadies you when excitement is gone, when challenges feel overwhelming, and when the road is longer than you expected. A person with vision understands that discipline is not about how they feel in a moment, but about where they are going in life. When you see clearly the future you are building, the temporary discomfort of today becomes bearable. Vision allows you to rise when the body screams for rest, to persist when the mind whispers of quitting, to sacrifice when others are indulging. It transforms routine into ritual and effort into meaning. The vision ignites a deeper fire that burns beyond emotion. It gives every action a purpose and every sacrifice a reason. Without vision, even the smallest obstacles look like mountains. With vision, even the greatest mountains shrink to stepping stones. This is why consistency is not sustained by external hype, but by internal clarity. When your vision is alive, you don't wait for motivation. You move with intention. Every decision is guided by the picture of destiny you carry within. And in those moments when your feelings betray you, when your motivation abandons you, your vision will remind you why you began. It will whisper to your spirit that the price of discipline is temporary, but the reward of consistency is eternal. Detachment is one of the most misunderstood qualities in the pursuit of self-discipline, yet it is one of the most powerful. To detach is not to stop caring, nor is it to live without passion or drive. It is to see clearly the difference between what serves your destiny and what distracts from it. It is to choose purpose over pleasure, meaning over momentary satisfaction, and destiny over the fleeting comfort of now. Detachment is strength because it reveals mastery over self. It is the refusal to be enslaved by urges, emotions, or the illusions of instant gratification. So many people remain bound because they are attached to what was never meant to carry them into their future. They cling to temporary pleasures, to the validation of others, to habits that ease the pain of the moment but multiply the weight of regret tomorrow. To live attached to every passing feeling is to live at the mercy of storms that come and go. One day you are on fire with energy and focus, the next you are crushed under the weight of discouragement. Detachment breaks this cycle. It steadies you. For when you are detached, you are no longer a prisoner of how you feel. You are guided instead by who you are becoming. When you choose detachment, you silence the clamor of instant rewards, so you can hear the deeper call of lasting fulfillment. You may deny yourself the sweetness of indulgence today, but what you gain is the unshakable strength to remain consistent tomorrow. Detachment teaches you that saying no to something small is in fact saying yes to something greater. Every time you resist the urge to indulge in distractions, every time you walk away from what does not serve your growth, you expand your capacity for long-term success. It takes courage to detach because the world celebrates attachment, the world praises comfort, urges you to chase what feels good, and mocks the restraint of discipline. Yet the world does not tell you the cost of living without boundaries. It does not show you the emptiness of a life consumed by chasing pleasures that never satisfy. Detachment is not weakness. It is the refusal to be deceived. It is the ability to see that the glitter of temporary satisfaction is nothing compared to the gold of destiny. To detach emotionally is not to become cold or unfeeling, but to master your emotions so they no longer dictate the direction of your life. To detach spiritually is to understand that your worth and purpose are not found in external things, but rooted in something eternal, something unshaken by circumstances. This detachment gives you the confidence to keep moving when others would have stopped, to stay disciplined when others would have yielded, to remain faithful when others have drifted away. A person who has learned detachment walks with a different strength. They do not bow to the cravings of the moment because they see beyond it. They do not shrink under the weight of disappointment because they know destiny is not destroyed by one setback. They are not intoxicated by applause nor crushed by criticism because they are not attached to either. Their eyes are fixed on something greater, something eternal, and their discipline flows from that higher vision. This is why detachment is the foundation of true self-discipline. Without it, you will always be tossed between what you feel and what you desire. With it, you will rise above fleeting emotions, breaking free from illusions that masquerade as truth, and live with a focus that cannot be shaken. Detachment empowers you to choose the path of destiny, even when every other path seems easier. It strengthens you to walk away from the temporary so you can inherit the eternal. It is the secret to discipline that lasts, the quiet strength that transforms consistency into greatness. Your emotions are powerful, but they were never meant to be your master. They are signals, guides, and indicators of what is happening within and around you. But when they sit on the throne of your life, they become tyrants. To build true self-discipline, you must understand that feelings are fleeting, yet purpose is permanent. If you live by emotions, your life will be a constant cycle of highs and lows, never grounded, always unstable, always reactive. But when you learn to act on purpose instead of feelings, you unlock a strength that emotions cannot shake. Emotions are like the weather. One day the sky is clear, the sun is bright, and everything feels possible. The next day is clouded, stormy, heavy with rain, and your motivation feels drained. If you wait for perfect weather to move, you will remain stuck. Discipline is a decision to build, to move, to act, even when the clouds are dark and the storm is raging. Purpose-driven action is the anchor that keeps you steady when the waves of emotion rise against you. Consider how many dreams have died, not because the dreamer lacked talent or opportunity, but because they surrendered to the emotion of discouragement. How many goals were abandoned, not because they were impossible, but because the fire of excitement faded and was never replaced by the steadiness of discipline. Feelings will tell you to stop, to give up, to rest when it is not time to rest, to indulge when it is not time to indulge. But discipline speaks louder. It reminds you that your destiny cannot be determined by a temporary mood. The danger of living by emotions is that emotions are often deceptive. They magnify the present moment while hiding the long-term truth. Anger may demand that you lash out, but discipline reminds you that peace sustains relationships. Fear may whisper that you are not capable, but discipline teaches you to take one step forward anyway. Laziness may entice you to postpone, but discipline insists that consistency builds the future. If you trust your emotions more than your purpose, you will always sabotage yourself at the edge of breakthrough. This does not mean emotions are your enemy. They are part of your humanity, but they were never meant to hold the steering wheel of your life. Think of them as passengers on the journey. They may speak, they may react, they may even distract, but you do not hand them the map or the keys. Discipline is the driver. Discipline decides the direction. Discipline keeps you on the path, even when the passengers complain. The power of emotional mastery is what separates those who reach their destiny from those who only dream of it. It is not the absence of emotion, but the ability to rise above it. There will be days you don't feel like showing up, but showing up despite the feeling builds strength. There will be days your emotions scream to quit, but continuing anyway builds resilience. And every time you choose purpose over feeling, you carve another piece of the person you were created to become. The truth is this. Self-discipline is not about fighting your emotions, but about placing them in their rightful place. They can inform you, but they cannot govern you. They can remind you that you are alive, but they cannot dictate whether you fulfill your purpose. When you rise above your feelings and anchor yourself in purpose, you gain authority over your life. You no longer live as a slave to moods, impulses, or fleeting desires. You live as a master of self, grounded in the unshakable truth that your destiny is worth more than the temporary storms of emotion. Authority in life always begins with authority over self. There is no true leadership, no lasting influence, and no enduring success for the one who has not first mastered their own impulses, desires, and distractions. A person may rise for a moment, carried by charisma or giftedness, but without discipline, they will eventually fall. The ability to govern yourself, to command your time, your thoughts, and your habits is what establishes the foundation for every other kind of authority. He who has no control within cannot sustain control without. When you look at the lives of the greatest leaders, thinkers, and pioneers in history, what you see is not just brilliance or opportunity, but self-mastery. It is the ability to wake up and follow through on commitments, to resist temptations that would derail their mission, and to persevere even when emotions and circumstances were against them. Self-discipline is the unseen crown they wore long before the world placed visible crowns on their heads. It was their hidden mastery that prepared them for visible authority. The truth is that the world recognizes and responds to discipline. People may not articulate it, but they instinctively trust the man or woman who is not swayed by every emotion, who is not distracted by every temptation, who is not derailed by every obstacle. Discipline commands respect because it reveals strength. It shows that you are not a servant of impulses, but a steward of purpose. Without that inner authority, every external authority crumbles. You cannot ask others to follow you when you have not learned to follow through with yourself. To govern yourself means learning the art of restraint. It means saying no when every part of you longs to say yes. It means prioritizing the eternal over the temporary, the meaningful over the convenient. And though it may feel like restriction, in truth, it is empowerment. The one who can say no to distractions has the power to say yes to destiny. The one who can deny themselves in the moment gains the strength to access greater rewards later. Without that ability, life becomes a cycle of surrendering to the loudest urge, and such a life can never carry the weight of true authority. Consider for a moment, how can you lead a team if you cannot lead yourself out of laziness? How can you build an empire if you cannot build consistency in your own habits? How can you expect the world to follow you when you cannot even follow your own word? This is why discipline is non-negotiable. It is the ground upon which authority is built. When you have mastered yourself, you walk into rooms differently. You speak with a weight that cannot be manufactured. You embody a strength that others can feel without you needing to announce it. That weight, that strength, is the fruit of discipline. Even in the spiritual sense, authority begins in the hidden place. A person who has no power over their own appetites cannot hope to wield power over greater matters. Self-governance is the training ground. Every time you resist what does not serve your destiny, every time you push past excuses, every time you align your actions with your vision, you are building authority within. That inner authority will later manifest outwardly, and others will recognize it as leadership. The tragedy is that many desire to lead others without first leading themselves. They want to speak into the lives of thousands, but cannot control the words that come out of their own mouth. They want wealth, but cannot control how they spend what little they already have. They want influence, but cannot master their own habits in private. Authority is not granted to the undisciplined. It is cultivated through self-mastery. It is only when you govern yourself faithfully that life entrusts you with the responsibility of governing more. Sacrifice is a word many fear, yet it is the very soil in which the seeds of greatness grow. To live a disciplined life is to understand that what you give up today is not truly lost, but transformed into something greater tomorrow. Sacrifice is not about deprivation, it is about investment. Every moment you deny yourself the fleeting pleasure of the present, you are depositing into the account of your future. Every act of restraint is a seed planted, and every seed planted has within it the potential for multiplication. The challenge lies in how the human heart perceives sacrifice. We live in a world that worships immediacy, a culture that glorifies instant gratification, and in such a world, sacrifice feels like suffering. To deny yourself what is available now feels unnatural, almost foolish. But those who understand destiny know that sacrifice is wisdom disguised as loss. It is the recognition that temporary pleasure is too small a price to pay for eternal significance. It is the awareness that nothing of true worth is built without the pain of letting go of something lesser. Think of the farmer. He takes seed that he could grind into bread and eat today, but instead he buries it in the ground, unseen, unused, seemingly wasted. To the untrained eye, it looks like loss, but to the farmer, it is foresight. He knows that one seed sacrificed today will return as a harvest tomorrow. This is the very principle of discipline. You release the lesser to inherit the greater. You surrender the immediate to secure the eternal. Sacrifice is also the great test of faith in one's own vision. To sacrifice is to declare, I believe so strongly in the future, I see that I am willing to deny myself in the present. Without this faith, sacrifice feels unbearable, but when your vision burns brightly before you, sacrifice becomes an act of devotion to that vision. It becomes a silent testimony that your future is worthy of every present discomfort. The irony is that those who avoid sacrifice in the name of comfort ultimately sacrifice far more than they realize. They sacrifice health to indulgence, peace to laziness, and purpose to procrastination. In chasing ease, they unknowingly surrender the very things they desire most. On the other hand, those who embrace sacrifice with discipline discover that what looked like loss was actually gain in disguise. They find freedom where others find bondage, strength where others feel weak, abundance where others encounter lack. Sacrifice also reveals what truly matters to you. What you are willing to give up shows what you value most. If you cannot let go of momentary indulgence, it may mean you value pleasure above destiny. If you cannot part with your comfort, it may mean comfort has become your idol. Discipline forces you to confront these truths, asking you to choose between what is easy and what is essential, between what is temporary and what is timeless. It is in sacrifice that character is forged. The strength to remain consistent when others drift away, the ability to endure when the road is long and uncertain, the courage to stand firm when temptations press hard. These are all fruits of sacrifice. Every disciplined decision to sacrifice now expands your capacity for the future. It stretches your endurance, sharpens your focus, and prepares you for responsibilities greater than you could carry without it. This is why sacrifice and discipline are inseparable. Discipline without sacrifice is empty, and sacrifice without discipline is wasted. Together, they form the foundation of long-term success. For every time you choose to give up something small, you are creating space for something immeasurably greater to enter your life. Sacrifice today is not a loss. It is the seed that will multiply into abundance tomorrow. Freedom is one of the deepest desires of the human soul, yet so often it is misunderstood. Many assume freedom means doing whatever you want, whenever you want, without boundaries or restraint. But this is not freedom, it is bondage disguised as liberty. To live without discipline is to live enslaved to impulses, cravings, and fleeting emotions. What feels like freedom in the moment eventually becomes chains that bind you. True freedom is found not in the absence of rules, but in the presence of order, not in indulgence, but in discipline. Discipline may feel like a restriction at first, but it is the very key that unlocks genuine liberty. Think of the musician who practices for hours each day, denying himself the ease of leisure. At first, it feels like sacrifice and limitation, but over time, that discipline produces mastery. The musician can now play with freedom, creating beauty without effort, expressing himself without restraint. His discipline gave him the wings to soar. Without that discipline, his gift would remain locked, his potential unrealized. So it is with life. Discipline creates the boundaries that set you free to live fully. When you refuse discipline, you become bound to the consequences of disorder. Neglecting your health in the name of freedom leads to disease. Ignoring responsibility in the name of pleasure leads to chaos. Chasing indulgence without boundaries leads to addiction. What feels like freedom in the present robs you of choice in the future. But when you embrace discipline, you create conditions where you are no longer controlled by your urges, your habits, or your environment. You become free to choose purpose over passion, vision over distraction, destiny over desire. True freedom is the ability to say no to what does not serve you and yes to what aligns with your higher calling. It is the liberation that comes when you are no longer ruled by appetites. A disciplined person is free to build, free to create, free to rise, because nothing within them holds them hostage. They are not enslaved to procrastination, not imprisoned by fear, not chained by excuses. This is the kind of freedom discipline offers, the power to live above the pull of the ordinary and to walk boldly into the extraordinary. Discipline also protects your freedom from being stolen by external forces. In a world filled with distractions, temptations, and demands on your attention, discipline acts as a shield. It guards your time, your energy, and your focus. Without it, the world decides how you live. With it, you decide how to live. Discipline empowers you to own your choices rather than being pushed and pulled by the pressures of life. And in that ownership, you discover the essence of freedom, the ability to live on your terms, aligned with your purpose, unhindered by the noise around you. Consider the paradox. The disciplined person, who seems restricted to the undisciplined eye, is in fact the freest of all. They may deny themselves certain pleasures now, but in return they gain the power to shape their life intentionally. The undisciplined, on the other hand, may indulge endlessly, yet they are slaves to their own lack of control, prisoners of consequences they can no longer escape. Freedom without discipline is an illusion, but discipline without freedom is impossible. The two are inseparable, for discipline is the path that leads to freedom. This is why those who desire long-term success must embrace discipline not as a burden, but as a gift. It is the very force that transforms restrictions into empowerment, choices into possibilities, and habits into liberation. True freedom is not doing whatever you please. It is the ability to live without being mastered by anything lesser than your destiny. And that kind of freedom is the fruit only discipline can produce. Discipline is not a chain meant to bind you. It is the key that unlocks the highest version of yourself. It is the bridge between intention and transformation, between fleeting desire and lasting fulfillment. Every moment you choose discipline, you declare that your destiny is greater than your distractions, your vision is stronger than your emotions, and your purpose is worth more than temporary comfort. The life you long for, the greatness you sense within, the success that endures, it will not come by chance, nor by wish, but by the daily decision to master yourself. Let your actions rise above your feelings. Let your vision burn brighter than your doubts, and let your discipline speak louder than your excuses. For in the end, true power belongs to the one who governs himself, and true freedom is reserved for the one who dares to be disciplined.